Good morning, everyone, and it's a great day to be a Viking fan. Justin Jefferson is not leaving Minnesota. For those that were worried that the signing would be derailed and Jefferson would pout and not show up for training camp and hold out, that is behind them because the Vikings put the money where their mouth is, signing him to a 4-year deal, making him the highest non-quarterback in NFL history. And Don, you know Justin very well. You've seen him throughout his career since he was drafted. This, to me, seems like a pretty safe bet, investing money in a guy like this. By the way, Jeff Wald, our digital content guy, is joining us, and that's Don Mitchell, who will have the floor right now. Don?
You know what, I just think, Jim, that this is the thing that fans have been waiting for, right? And Vikings ownership has been consistent this whole time. They said years ago, Mark Wilf stood up in front of us in the summer saying, that's our priority. We want Justin Jefferson as a Viking. And now they're putting their money where their mouth is. And if we know anything when it comes to the Wilfs, that's what they've done. They said that they wanted a state-of-the-art facility for them to play in downtown. They got it. You know, they have TCO Performance Center. They got it. They wanted JJ. Now we call them Jets because there's another JJ. They, pardon me, they got it. $140 million contract extension, including 110 million guaranteed. That's 35 million a season, making him the highest paid, like you said, non-quarterback in NFL history. And that's what JJ wanted. JJ wants to prove that not only is he the best on the field when it comes to wide receivers, his injury last year notwithstanding, but that financially that was shown as well. Everyone was waiting to see what CD Lamb would get, and was it a standoff, and who would get more? But the Wilfs putting down the money and showing Jefferson exactly what he means to them. And I think you mentioned it, a mandatory minicamp starts on Tuesday, starts tomorrow. We can breathe the sigh of relief that, you know, Justin is going to be in purple and he got what he deserves.
So, Jeff, you look at this, and from a financial landscape, the Vikings moved on from Kirk Cousins because they didn't want to invest that much money in an aging quarterback. But here now they have another player that's making north of $30 million a season. We know the salary cap went up this offseason, but still, does this handcuff the Vikings from making moves down the road in your mind?
I mean, it all depends on what the cap situation is and what the cap hits are for his contract. But to Don's point, it's a move you had to make, and you had to do it before, if not before week one, you had to do it before training camp, and perfect timing with mandatory minicamp starting tomorrow. I sort of equate it almost to when Joe Mauer was due for a new contract before they opened Target Field. I mean, that's how I really think about it. I'm like, you had to sign him to a long-term deal before you opened a new stadium. You don't have the new stadium aspect here with US Bank Stadium, but you still have a franchise player on the back end of his rookie deal on the final year, and you could not afford to go into the season without a new deal done. I look at the numbers specifically. I'm seeing the NFL tweeted out some good numbers here. As we mentioned, Jefferson is due $35 million on average after this year. That's ahead of AJ Brown, $32 million. Amon-Ra St. Brown, $30 million. Jalen Waddle, a little over 28. Devontae Smith, 25. Nico Collins, 24.3. And if you look at the numbers, he's better than all of them. So he deserves every penny he's getting, and he's handled it the most professional way possible the entire way. He hasn't, if he's been frustrated, he has not let that come out publicly. It's stayed within his inner circle if there's been any frustration. And I thought another interesting point that was made this morning, Adam Schefter put out something that multiple teams called the Vikings this spring to try and get, to become trade partners for the star wide receiver. And if they didn't hang up immediately, they were immediately told no, and that was the end of the conversation. So, like to your point, Don, earlier, this was the priority, and now it's a done deal.
Yeah, you look at it, Don, and what the Vikings have done here. And this was a statement by them because they could have reset the whole franchise. You could have traded him at draft day and gotten more picks, and you could have possibly went out and got yourself a situation where you could have gotten Marvin Harrison Jr. So then you would have had your quarterback, Addison, and whoever you drafted as another wide receiver, all on rookie deals. And that really would have put the Vikings in a situation where they could have so much cap room to go out and fill the holes on the defensive side of the ball or beef up the offensive line or whatever they wanted to do. But them saying that, no, Justin is our number one priority says a lot about what they think, because the rest of the team is in a, we won't go rebuilding, but we'll go with their term, competitive rebuild right now. And they're still saying that even though we're not at the top of the conference, we're still in a situation where we think we're not far away.
You know, I think the Vikings, this new regime has been 100% honest as much as they can be transparent with us when it comes to the direction of this ball club. I think as soon as they let Kirk Cousins go, you knew that, yes, it might be a competitive rebuild, but they're rebuilding around someone. You don't do a competitive rebuild when you have a Justin Jefferson, you let him walk. When you see a kid that is in the NFL history books over and over and over again, and he's still on his rookie deal, and you're saying out of one side that you want to keep him around, you know they're going to pay him. You know that they're going to build around him. And the interesting thing, Jim, and you remember this, Justin Jefferson at the end of last year in some of those post-season podcasts and stuff that he was on, he let something slip. He said that he wanted to have a veteran quarterback. So we all took it as, oh, Kirk's going to come back. But I think he knew he was going to resign, and he wanted to have someone that he knew could throw the ball. And I know Sam Darnold may not be the guy that everyone's looking at, but you bring a JJ McCarthy along, so everything according to plan. Think about it. Now they've paid JJ. Now you see that they have Sam Darnold who can throw him the football until JJ McCarthy is up and ready. You don't, from the outside, it was so logical that you don't let a guy like Jefferson walk. You know, you pay him and you have to find a way to do it. And we all know Rob Brzezinski is a genius when it comes to it, but the bottom line is you have to come up with that money. And so it was almost like the hands on the wall once Kirk Cousins went to Atlanta, that they're going to do all in their power. And how about a shout out to JJ for having all these kudos? And there's so many athletes that don't want to stay in Minnesota. You know, they give that lip service. And then when it comes time, they take the money and run elsewhere. He's putting his money where his mouth is too. So I think we're starting to see the plan unfold. Whether it will go into a championship form, we have to wait and see. But everything that this regime has said that they wanted to do, they have gone out and done so far.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Jeff, you look at this is kind of a unique thing because you see a lot of these wide receivers being traded away. You saw Kansas City get rid of their guy, send him to Miami, and then they still win a Super Bowl. Granted, the Vikings don't have a Patrick Mahomes at quarterback who could make anybody look good, but, you know, are fans going to expect more of Jefferson now because of the money? You mentioned that you were reminded of him being Joe Mauer. Well, look at how the fan base didn't really appreciate Joe Mauer. I mean, he was a first ballot Hall of Famer, yet people in Minnesota were harder on him than the rest of the country. You know, so now Jefferson is going to be treading into those waters where they expect him to catch every ball and win every game by himself.
Well, I'll make 2 points on that front. I was actually having a conversation with our colleague Pierre Nugent during the Wolves playoff run last week about this very subject. And his argument, his pushback is that, do you want to build your team, have your wide receiver, have your star wide receiver be your highest paid player or amongst your highest paid players, and can you win a Super Bowl doing that? He doesn't believe that that's the route. I think he believes it's more of the pay your quarterback and let him be the face of the franchise. I think Justin Jefferson is a generational talent that you might not ever see again. I think he could go down as the best receiver to ever play the game if his trends and his stats continue. I think, of course, the Vikings fans are going to have high expectations of him because he's the face of the team. He's the star, and he leans right into that. I mean, if you saw his social media video this morning, he talked about being lowly recruited out of high school. He talked about having to earn his spot at LSU. He wasn't the first receiver taken in that draft, and if you remember, the Vikings sent a shipload of picks to the Buffalo Bills to get him. And then we all remember that video with Spielman and Zimmer laughing when I believe it was, I can't remember.
Jalen Reagor.
Yeah, Jalen Reagor was taking the spot before him, and they couldn't write down Jefferson's name on the sheet of paper fast enough to get him. I think this is an opportunity that Jefferson knows what he's worth, and he knows that what kind of work he has to do to be able to match those numbers on the field. And I think he's more than capable of not only putting in the work to get there, but doing it on the field. I think we've already seen it. I mean, 2 years ago when he was fully healthy for a year, he almost broke the single season receiving record. So we already know what the bar is for Justin Jefferson.
Can I jump in on that just a little bit too? I
Absolutely.
think Minnesota fans, it's interesting. It's like that catch-22, right? Like they want Justin Jefferson to be paid because they love him. Keep him here. You got to pay him. He deserves it. You know, we all know athletes get paid for what they have done and the potential of what's to come. You know, that even happened with Joe Mauer, pay him for what he did do and then hope it continues. But if you let a generational talent like that walk, then we'll just hear about it like Big Papi here forever and ever, you know? So you can't please the fans one way or the other. And, you know, sitting on the fence is not the way to go about it. Mediocrity is not going to get it done in the NFL. So, you know, like you got to go for it. It would have been crazy to let someone like Justin Jefferson walk, but you have to pay him not only for what you hope he does, but he's, you know, everything he's done on a rookie contract is unbelievable.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And Don, there had to have been not only the money as a big factor for JJ to sign here, but he had to be sold that they were moving on from Kirk, that we're going to get you a new quarterback. And he may have been a bit gun shy. If I was him, I would have been gun shy after the three guys that I had throwing me the ball after Kirk got hurt last year. Because then all of a sudden he knows what a real quarterback is. Because Cousins, you know, even though he's not mobile, his arm was dynamic and he could get the ball where JJ needed it. So they, I think, you know, had to have some conversations with him about this because he's not met McCarthy as far as we know. I don't think he has much history with Sam Darnold. So, yes, he's getting paid, but he would have gotten paid wherever he ended up. They had to do, I bet, some salesmanship to say, this is what we could do. O'Connell saying, you know, I can run these quarterbacks. How much do you think a sales job was needed for Justin to say, okay, I believe in what you guys are doing?
Yeah, you know, you took the words out of my mouth because he hasn't been at OTAs. So it's not like he's caught a pass from either of these guys that we know of. We don't know what they've
Right.
done away from the shine or the glare of cameras or that we know about. But yeah, I think, you know, and JJ is a smart kid. You know, he must have done his research too on, you know, does this quarterback have the potential to get me the ball? Any of us watching Sam Darnold the past couple of days, hey, he may not light the world on fire, but he could surprise us. You know, if you can get the ball to Justin Jefferson, you can do amazing things. Open up the running game. All of a sudden, you know, we've got Aaron Jones. So I think Justin is a smart kid in terms of looked at the pieces that they've put in place all over on this team. And can he build not only just at quarterback, but you know, that's right. If they said, yeah, we're going to get Sean Hill out of retirement again, you know, JJ's like, I'm looking elsewhere, you know, no offense to Sean Hill. I'm just saying, you know, you
Right.
just don't want one of those repeat kind of quarterbacks that are coming back from retirement or trying to, you know, go from backup to starter. So I absolutely agree with you. So that's what I think will be really interesting to see, not only in mini camp, but also in training camp to see how this relationship and how everything develops around that.
Yeah, because we know that JJ and Kirk didn't go to Bible study together, but they had a chemistry on the field. They clicked, they believed in each other. Kirk was willing to throw the 50-50 balls, and Jefferson was willing to go get it, knowing that Kirk was putting it in a spot where he could get it. And it took a while for those guys to gel. So, Jeff, I don't think Viking fans can expect this offense to be where it was with Cousins. So it's going to take a little bit this season to figure out whether it is Darnold or McCarthy. Either way, this offense is going to look different at the start.
Well, the way I think about it is you look at a guy like, I even switch gears to like a guy like Aaron Rodgers. He could make his teammates better because he was that good at quarterback, or he is that good at quarterback when he's healthy. I sort of flip that script a little bit with Jefferson. I think he can make a quarterback look really good with his ability to both run routes. We've seen it for 4 years, and his ability to make contested catches. He's not afraid to go over the middle and take a big hit and come down with the ball. He's not afraid of the big moment. He embraces every big opportunity he gets, and he wants every pressure-filled situation he gets. So whether it's Sam Darnold or whether it's J.J. McCarthy, I think he'll flourish regardless of who the quarterback is because he is that good. I was bullish when the Vikings traded up to get McCarthy that he was going to be the week 1 starter. I've since started to back off from that a little bit. I think they want to have I think they want to give Sam Darnold every chance to win the job for week 1 and let McCarthy learn the offense and maybe let him take over a year from now because we all know Darnold's on a 1-year deal. He's trying to prove himself, and we don't know how that's going to go. But regardless, I think Jefferson's the type of player that can just make everybody around him elevated.
All right. Last thing, Don, we'll give you the last word. How big is this for this franchise? Are we sitting at a point where this is going to be a day that will be marked in history, or will it be in infamy down the road in 5 years? We go like, whoa, what were we doing there?
Well, I guess you can never tell, but I would say if I'm taking off my journalist hat and if I was just a Vikings fan, I would say this day had to come. You need to keep a player like Justin Jefferson around. So it would be the same as, oh my gosh, would you trade away Anthony Edwards? If you have that in a town where just like, Jeff just said, you can build around, I think that this is a cornerstone, another big chunk, maybe one of the thumbprints of this new regime in terms of, Kwesi and Kevin and going forward. If first of all, feather in their cap to keep JJ around, because there were plenty of suitors, like you said. But I also think just the key that you can't really put your finger on is who Justin is as a person. He is a leader in that clubhouse, and this is going to just make him even more so. He took it upon himself the past couple of years. So I think this will go down as a good thing. Now, I don't want to say injury, but anything can happen. It's the NFL. But
Sure.
This is something that I think had to be done to keep this franchise moving forward and not alienate the fans at this point right now.
No doubt about it. All right, we will leave it here for now, but of course we'll have an update on Fox Local. We'll be back here. YouTube, you can follow us. More podcasts to come. And of course, how about watching TV? We'll be live at 5, 6, 6:30, 7, 9, 10. We'll be there all the time as this story advances. But for Jeff Wald and Don Mitchell, I'm Jim Rich. Thanks for checking us out. And we'll see you later as Justin Jefferson signs a new 4-year deal with the Minnesota Vikings, making him the highest non-paid quarterback in NFL history.